Hello and welcome to another episode of the AstraZeneca Women in Tech series. I'm your host, Ben Benton, and today I'm joined by Alison McGurk from our Operations IT team based in Macclesfield, UK. Alison, welcome to the episode. How are you?
Thanks, Ben. Great, thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining me today. So could you share a little bit about what it is you do and about the team you work for and lead?
Okay, so as you said, I work in the operations IT part of the AstraZeneca IT organisation. I head up the architecture, data and intelligence team there, which is quite a grand title, isn't it? So I'll explain a little bit about what that is. So in operations, we have accountability for all our systems that go across the operations organisation, which is quite broad, really. It goes from everything from something called PTD, which is where we scale up the drugs that our R&D colleagues develop to manufacture them, and then of course we manufacture those drugs and we test the quality of them. We make sure they're all high quality, and then we look after all the end-to-end supply chain and logistics that goes on for getting the raw materials for those medicines through to distributing them to our colleagues in commercial. And we also look after the procurement organisation too. So that's quite a broad range across AstraZeneca. And then so within that, my team look after the architecture for those solutions. So that's everything from selecting which are the strategic solutions we should be using and designing how they're going to be implemented in AstraZeneca. We look after the IT side of the master data that goes into those systems, and then coming out of them, we look after the reporting and the analytics and starting to do more data science around the information and turning that into insights from those systems. So it's a very interesting and busy job.
Yeah, I bet it sounds it. So what's the most enjoyable aspect of your role?
I think there's a number of aspects of it that I really enjoy. My team is a global team. We span 8 different countries, from China and Australia to Sweden and the UK and Mexico and the US. So we've got colleagues all around the world. So I really love that aspect of it and the diversity of the team in which I work. I love the fact that I get to not only work across the operations part of the business, but also link into, in part of my enterprise architecture role, I link into kind of the my colleagues in other areas of IT. And I really like the fact that the team is all about the business, kind of getting the business benefits, and how do we as IT professionals enable kind of business change and delivering those results. And so it's kind of the combination of those 3 different things that I really enjoy about the job.
Excellent. So did you always know that kind of working in technology was what you wanted to do? And what, because the other question I've got is, when you were growing up, what did you want to be? Did you have visions of being in architecture and data?
Definitely not. Didn't know what that was then. So I was reflecting on this, and I think I always wanted to be a scientist. I always wanted to do something in science. So science were my favourite subjects at school. I think I went through a phase of wanting to be a vet and then a chemical engineer until I did chemistry A level and realised I didn't actually like it. So what I did is at university, I studied something called geophysics because I loved geography and physics at school, and that's all about the study of the earth and rocks. And I've got a PhD in geology, so I'm a doctor of rocks. So and all my work experience at university was all around geared around the oil industry and going to work in the oil industry. But when I finished my PhD, it was when the price of oil had dropped to a low at the time, and there weren't very many graduate jobs. So I had a bit of a rethink, and I'd done used a lot of IT anyway as part of my studies. And it was the late 1990s and the dot-com boom, so I decided to kind of investigate careers in IT. I knew I didn't want to work for a company that just did IT. I wanted to work in doing IT in a company that made things.
Yeah.
And so I was lucky enough to join Unilever on their graduate programme and spent 10 very happy years at Unilever. So that was how I got into IT.
Wow, okay. Interesting. So architecture, it doesn't seem, and I guess from my experience of working within the IT tech world, it doesn't seem to attract as many women as other areas of tech. Do you think there's a perception of it being viewed as kind of overly technical? And can you help kind of dispel any false myths that might be in the world of architecture?
Yeah, so I mean, I know that I certainly, when it was first suggested to me many years ago, that my line manager at the time said to me, "We think you'd be good at architecture, Alison. Would you be interested in architecture?" We were talking about, what my next role was going to be, and I was like, "Oh, that's all those techie guys who sit in a room by themselves." At the time where I was, and so it took some convincing, because I was like, "But I'm not really technical. I've done very much a number of business analyst and project manager type roles." And so I was a little bit nervous about joining the architecture team. And I did spend my first year in architecture wondering why, what I was doing, to be fair. But then I came to realise why people had said, "We think you'd be good at architecture, Alison." And that's because architecture is this unique combination of understanding the technical. I'd be lying to say that you don't have to understand the technical at all, but understanding the technical, but being able to translate that into what that means, and what that means from a business problem, business opportunity perspective. And what I really enjoy in architecture is the long-term strategic thinking aspect of it. So as an enterprise architect, you're really thinking about the next 5 years. What's coming, what's going to happen, where our systems are, and what do we need to do to make sure that we've got the right systems that enable the business objectives. And it's that aspect of it that really appeals to me. But then it's also about then taking that strategy as part of the IT strategy, looking at what we've got today, the things that the business want to do, and then really translating that in terms of the architecture and design of our systems and how it all fits together. So that's the enjoyable part of it. I think that the thing that is really important for people to understand is that there's always a lot of people who are technical experts, so there's a big team. There's a big team of people to rely upon. Everybody knows things that they know more about than other people. And I think it's all about finding the people who are the go-to people. I'm not an expert when it comes to infrastructure and networks, for example, but I always know who the go-to people are to go and ask for the advice. And I think that what really makes a good architect is the unique combination of being able to understand the technical, but then being able to translate it to a way that, a lot of great architecture is all about taking the complex and being able to kind of explain it and communicate it in a way that people understand, and have this kind of mix of technical and like softer skills as well.
Great, that's really useful. I think no one's really explained architecture in that way before, so that's really helpful. And you kind of touched upon it, but what kind of routes would someone take to get into architecture? You mentioned about business analyst, project management. Are there kind of set routes that you would go down to venture into where you are?
I don't think there's any set routes particularly. I think, as long as you've got some of the right attitude and some of the right skills, anybody can be an architect, particularly if you've come through an IT background. There's probably two main routes into architecture. There's the more traditional, slightly more technical route, which is, you know, people have come through quite a technical IT career. They've become a subject matter expertise in, you know, an area of IT, or, you know, some particular systems, and then they move into architecture. And generally, you know, as you progress in architecture, your career, your time horizon turns from a shorter time horizon to a longer time horizon, and you become more strategic. So there's that route, and then there's also the route of being, I always say that, recommend to people and recommend to our grads and apprentices at AstraZeneca as well, that as part of the rotations that they do on the scheme, always experience kind of business analysis quite early on, because I think if you're a great business analyst, it really teaches you about understanding requirements, asking questions, understanding how our users are going to use the systems, and that's a really great foundation to architecture. So I think that business analysts make great architects. So that's another route in from the IT perspective. You know, a lot of architecture is about asking the right questions and asking good questions.
That's really useful. So what advice would you give to women that are potentially looking into, let's say, architecture as a tech career? What advice would you give them?
I think have your, you know, kind of be open to the opportunity and the different experiences. I remember when, you know, it was first, like I said, when it was suggested to me, I was a bit like, why are you suggesting architecture to me? That's something that I'd never considered up till that point. And I think it's really about recognizing how important the softer skills are, as well as the technical skills. Not that women can't be very technical, of course, because many of us are. But from I think the unique combination that maybe people don't realise is that a lot of architecture is about influencing and really communicating the concept, the strategy, why we're doing something, what the reasons are, what options we've looked at. There's a lot of analysis. So what options have we looked at? How have we got to the recommended option for, you know, the recommended solution for a business problem, and then you know, influencing, convincing people as to why that's the right decision. And I think that that combination of those skills, together with being able to understand the technology but explain it simply, is something that I'd emphasise to people. And then I'd say, you know, just come and talk to the architects in the team and find out a little bit more about it. Great,
excellent, thank you very much. So what made you join AZ, and how has the business helped you develop in your career?
So I joined AstraZeneca just over 3 years ago now. I came from a number of years in retail IT, doing architecture and some other roles too. And the reason I joined AstraZeneca at the time was that I was looking for the opportunity to lead an architecture team, and that's what AstraZeneca offered me. I'd been an architect for about 12 years then, and you know, I wanted to lead my own architecture team. And it's been a brilliant 3 years at AZ. I think that AstraZeneca is really kind of trusted in me and developed me. I remember when I started in this role, my line manager at the time, she said to me, you know, you'll make mistakes and you'll get things wrong, but you'll do more right than the mistakes you make. And, you know, I think it's that trust in people and that confidence in people to let you get on and kind of keep developing you. You know, that commitment to learning is brilliant. And, you know, I joined AstraZeneca in the pharma industry with no experience of pharma at all. So it was a steep uphill learning curve, but then you realise that a lot of what you've done elsewhere, you know, transfers across. IT trends are the same. You know, a lot of the solutions are the same. Supply chains are similar. But yes, so it's been a really exciting 3 years. I'm really glad I joined.
Oh, good. Well, that's good to hear. And on to my last question. The same question I always ask. What more do you think that we could be doing to support greater female representation within tech?
It's a good question. I know the stats, and I puzzle about it myself. I think there's probably two main routes. I think you have to tackle it at the grassroots level, so with girls in schools, and influencing, you know, what their kind of continuation of the STEM subjects and what they do at university. I don't, you know, for no moment do I think that to work in IT you have to have a IT degree. That's definitely not true. I don't think I really have any IT qualifications officially. But I think it's kind of talking to people, and girls and women, and getting them to understand that to work in IT, one, what the kind of opportunities and possibilities are. So getting over to people that, you know, there is programming, of course, and if you want to do programming, there's lots of opportunities. But if you don't want to if you just associate it with programming, that's quite limiting. You know, there's all sorts of great roles in IT, be it architecture, or be it being a business analyst or a project manager or an engineer, or you know, all those sorts of roles. So getting over to people kind of the breadth of those roles, and also the fact that think about encouraging and retaining women in IT roles throughout their careers, but also bringing people, you know, in from other areas. That's great too. I listened to Dilek's interview last week. Yeah. I remember interviewing her for our apprentice scheme a few years ago, and so it's great, you know, that she's come from a completely different career and then moved into IT slightly later. And, you know, again, in my team, we've got people who've come into IT and into architecture from other areas of the business, and that's brilliant because people bring all sorts of experience and other skills with them, and then we can teach them to be an architect or a business analyst or something. But that's also another route in, and so I think it's really kind of talking to people about what the opportunities are and the huge variety of roles that we've got in IT that we need to do more of.
Excellent, and that's brilliant, Alison. And I think I guess another point for me is that I love the thing about grassroots, because it's the children coming up, and I've got a young daughter, and I'd love her to have the opportunities to go into IT and tech if she wants to, and that's really it. It's about giving the opportunity and showing them that there are amazing women like yourself in tech doing amazing things at senior levels at different areas of tech. So you coming on this show is brilliant, and I'm really grateful for you doing that. And that brings me to the end of the episode. So thanks for coming on. I've really enjoyed listening to your insights into architecture, because it has been something that I've seen as you almost put it in a section of, well, that's really technical. Only technical people go there. But it's been really good to listen to your thoughts and comments on that.
Thank you, Ben.
Good. And then to the viewers, thanks again for watching. And if you've enjoyed the session, please give us a like and share. And if you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to the series for all the latest episodes. But in the meantime, please do take care, and we will see you in a few weeks. Bye-bye.